What's my choice? I get up and I'm going, I choose the light. So you know, like Charlie is just like every time I come over here, I just basically just breathing the air, I get inspired and I go home and practice. So that's something that is really important with us drummers and musicians, the human aspect of inspiration, passion. You know, we speak the language of drumming and music, but we speak English. So right now we're communicating in English, and then once we stop the language of drumming, we still got to communicate and be great musicians and great humans, great people, great communications with each other, you know, like, and so like, I always found that with Charlie and the love of drumming and everything here. So like, so recently I've been just putting some stuff on the internet, and I realized, you know, like sometimes it's just I call it hitting the bed, which is basically when I'm in my hotel room on the road with Chicago. Sometimes I don't even have a practice pad, so you know, I go like, okay, what sounds good? Sometimes the furniture is great, has a great bounce, and then the bed is a workout because it has no bounce. And so so you know, I start like practicing, and sometimes, you know, like the importance of going to the practice pad and practicing your vocabulary, which is basically in English would be verbs, adjectives, names, nouns. You know, we need that. When we're speaking, the last 2 minutes, I have no idea if I did nouns and adjectives and verbs, so I'm not analyzing grammar and vocabulary, and you shouldn't when you're playing drum set, you're playing music, right? So you don't know if you played a paradiddle or a double paradiddle or you play a 5-stroke roll. That's for you to do at home. You know, practice, you know, how you're gonna communicate and all that. But sometimes you gotta like bring it down to the pad. And I think it's really important to start out with, because at the same time I've been teaching some students that whatever you do on your lessons or your rudiments, to basically, if you don't have a metronome, which I recommend, it's like your best friend, you know, metronome, because right now I'm playing a tempo. I don't know what that is. I need my clicker. I use a Tama rhythm watch. If somebody asks me to do a tempo, you know, I click it and I go, oh, I'm in 120 or I'm in 190, whatever. But right now I'm just gonna pick a tempo, and if I start triplets, 16-note triplets and paradiddles, right? And whatever you do, when it's a drum lesson or rolls or whatever you're practicing, doubles, singles, doubles, paradiddle, 4-stroke roll. But you're keeping a tempo. And what that does, it puts you in a habit of keeping tempo for yourself. And you're going to be becoming really good at keeping tempo for yourself. And guess what? We keep tempo for other musicians, and that's our job. So like I have some students that basically with the lessons, they give a lessons, right? And the lesson is good, but try to do the lesson And why is that? Because like I learned when I was in college that one of the things that my band teacher liked about me, and he told me, and I went like, wow, can I record that? A compliment, whoa. And so like he told me, you know what I like about you, Wally? That no matter if you're playing with the band and you do a 4-bar fill or a 2-bar fill, we always know where we are. So horn players, guitar players, singers and all that, they don't care if you're playing double paradiddle, flam, drags. That's not their language. Just like you really don't care if the horn player is playing in C minor. Really? Does that affect our drumming? No, it just sounds really good, man. I like that chord. You know, you don't go into specific and they don't go to specific. I like that double paradiddle with the flam on the floor tom-tom. You never hear a horn player or a piano player tell you that unless they're a drummer themselves. So the important thing is that when you actually are playing time and then you play a 4-bar fill, the main thing, because those horn players are counting. And it's like blah, 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 the drummer's playing, blah, 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 blah. It sounds awesome, I don't know where it is, but when they come in, they're gonna come in on one, and they're gonna go on one. And if you, instead of doing that, you go, where were you? You know, now you're doing. So I guess the point is that whatever you do in your practice and your lessons and whatever, rudiments, take a rudiment on the practice pad. So the beautiful thing about the practice pad is it sounds really boring and insipid and da 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 da, da, and there's no sonic sounds, right? So you're playing roll. But even my wife can go to my rolls. If I don't do that, it's and I'm just practicing technique. But the same thing, put a beat. See what I mean? So now you're practicing two things. You're practicing your roll, and you're practicing the concept of keeping time and tempo. So some of you that know me, my religion is 3 words: tempo, grooves, styles. So drummers, that's what we're about. If I actually have to summarize, by the way, this is my 50th year in the music business as a professional musician. Not practicing, I started when I was 12. But I realized that, like, the band Chicago is 55, and I went like, 55, when they started, I was like in the 8th grade, this and that. So I went back, and also some of you might know here, when it comes time to the musician's pension and Medicare, you turn 65, and you go, well, you cannot have insurance anymore, you gotta be on Medicare. I go, really? Well, and so I started going back in my musician's pension, and I realized that I started at 16 years old. My dad signed for me for the musicians union, because I had a gig. My first gig was playing percussion with Debbie Reynolds. A lot of the youngsters over there don't know who she is, but if you actually Google, it's really good movie. It's like Singing in the Rain, and you know, Debbie Reynolds, a big actress, and her daughter was Carrie Fisher, Star Wars, Princess Leia. I remember Princess Leia. I was 16, and I think Carrie Fisher was 17, and Debbie would go, "What are you doing this weekend? You want to take my daughter out for a movie or something?" I was going, hell no. I'm not gonna go out, like, you know. And at that time it was like, oh, you're trying to dump your daughter on me. No, I got other better things to do. But then time went by and she became really famous and all that. But the point is that at 16 my dad co-signed, so I realized that I've been working percussion, drums, you know, Vegas, shows, artists, singers, dancers, and then moved to LA, jazz, different styles. And, you know, like I told my brother last night, because he's the metal brother, plays with Zach Brown Band, percussion, and he told some of the guys from Zach, "You think I've done a lot of things? You should see my brother, his resume is twice as long." He goes, "Yeah, but I'm 6 years older." So, you know, you were still in elementary school when I was already working. So of course, the older you get, the more you do. But the thing is, when I have to like go back 50 years and shrink it to 3 words, my whole life I've been spending keeping tempos, finding out tempos for the dancers, for the songwriters, for the musicians, grooves that feel good, and styles. So what I mean by grooves that feel good, this is a problem with drummers. Like right now, I'm the only one talking and I'm the only one playing. So I got all this space to fill up. Enters a piano player, a rhythm guitar player, lead guitar player, percussionist, singer, and a keyboard player. The space has been shrunk. So what might sound good to you on a drum set with nobody in it might not feel really good with more people in it. So sharing the space, just like conversations. Like right now, of course, I feel like very egotistical because nobody's speaking, but that will change because you guys gonna have questions and we're gonna interchange. But if I'm the only one in the room, I can do everything. It's all about me, right? The minute one musician, two musicians, three musicians, try 10 musicians, like with Chicago, enter the room, we have to have a human word called consideration, compassionate, forgiveness for mistakes, and share the space and be a great human being. And that applies to musicians. So right now I'm doing like in my room, in my and enters the singer, and she stands there. I gotta change. First of all, I'm too damn loud. So, okay, we're gonna do the same thing, but now enters the bass player, and the guitar player, and the singer singing. Well, that might be too busy. So now it's like, and I hear this, and I go, okay, so we're at this tempo, okay, just to remember the tempo, I notch it down. And the whole space is filled up with music. So now I'm subtracting and adding and using those human words. I gotta be considerate, listening, and interacting. Because right now, if I had a microphone, I probably would be at a lower volume because it would be loud. That's the other thing with drummers. You know, we have a drum set here. Actually, Charlie helped me to muffle a little bit because there's a thing called play the room. You know, that's loud, and I'm playing with brushes. I mean, if you really, really want to hear me loud, you guys will clear the room. I'll take my 2B sticks and really whack it, like if I was in a stadium with a heavy metal band, nobody will survive it. So, you know, you have to really be a mixing board in your ears, just like you are in conversations. You know, if my wife is here, I go, hey honey, you want to have some coffee? Of course I'm not gonna do that. He goes like, hey sweetie, you want to have some coffee? He goes, yeah, I would love some. You're playing the room. It's a conversation. And so that it's either you get the gig or you don't get the gig. Oh my God, I love that drummer, but he was so damn loud and inconsiderate. What's the next guy? You just lost the gig. All these years of practicing rudiments and all that, why? You weren't inconsiderate. You didn't listen. No consideration. So like basically it's really important to have all these elements after all the practice you do. So going back to like the practice pad, like, you know, I like to start on my pad and warm up. And if I'm gonna practice, say like paradiddle, so now I'm practicing paradiddles, right? And triplets. 16 notes triplet. So I'm playing it with a paradiddle, right? So if I right, left, right, left, right, left, right. 2, 1. Okay, that's the pad. So now I'm going to put the right hand on the cowbell, just for sonic purposes. Okay, now we're going to play the left hand on the hi-hat. That's a little different than practicing on the pad, right? So now you take the practice pad off. Now the same paradiddle. take the same exact thing and put it here, put it there, put it here, put your hands all over the place. Now you got vocabulary. Now you got sonic things. Now you're going to have fun. So even if you stay on a paradiddle, you got 40 more rudiments to go. So that's the answer. So that's like you start with one, and then you do, and then in the stick control, there's a really great book that's from 1930 something. It's still the Bible of sticking. That's why it's called stick control. And it's a book that will last you for a whole life. I mean, it's like $10. You can pass it on to your children or your grandchildren, because they'll need it if they're going to become drummers. So like I'm still on the first 4 pages, by the way. And it's 50 years. Haven't gone by. Why? Because there's so many stickings there that the way I use the book on the stick control is basically stickings. Taka, 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 paradiddles, and all that. So say you take that paradiddle that I just finished playing. Now we're going to play it in a different way. Instead of, I'm going to take the right hand and put the foot. That's the right hand. How you doing? So like instead of going, I'm going to do. So now with the right hand I play, you can start slow. I'm actually playing a little bit faster because we don't have 4 hours, here. So basically if you play. If you want to play rock and you study, some of you, my students know, first page, 5, 6, 7, 8. That will last you for a long time. And then I'll tell you, one time I saw Billy Cobham on the Musicians Union in Las Vegas on a clinic. Of course, he had a lot of tom-toms, many tom-toms. And I actually said like, wow, like my dad wanted to come, and oh yeah, he kind of like heard my dad, and he goes like, man, I wish we had like your percussion. He goes, well, I played a gig last night. I have congas in the car. I go, bring him. What did I say? Shoot, man, Billy Cobham. So I went and got my congas, and then Billy I was playing right here by his floor tom-tom. And he goes like, he started playing. He goes, let's trade 4s. Me with my 2 hands and him with 20 tom-toms. And so like, we started playing. And in one of those fills, he did something that was like, that. And I went, whoa, what was that? Well, he said to me, 5, 6, 7, 8, stick control. And I was like, what? So basically, the first paradiddle of the stick control is. The second one is the opposite. The third one is. And the fourth one is. So if you play them all like this, instead of staying in one and staying in the one, you play like first bar, because the stick control is 2 bars. 1, 2, 1. The whole book is like, so if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? You're playing with your foot. There, you're playing rock, like. time in the meters, the Neville Brothers. That's the 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the 8th one. So now when you play to music, paradiddle of the stick control. So you can always go and analyze. It feels good to have that beat, and I go, man, I can dance to that beat, but once I, what? That's a paradiddle. So you see, you can start analyzing everything from like Neil Peart to Buddy Rich. If you play drums, you're playing a rudiment. Because I hear a lot of people going, I play what I feel, I don't do rudiments. So you don't speak grammar. You don't do nouns, you don't do verbs, you don't do adjectives. Because if you're speaking something and you go, what a beautiful day. Well, the word beautiful, you analyze it, what is that? You know, man, Charlie has a kick-ass drum shop. Well, I just did a noun. So you start analyzing, you gotta do grammar and language. And if you do Spanish, you got feminine, masculine, silla, taco is masculine, mesa is feminine, and accents. And it gets complicated with Spanish. But you will speak Spanish, you're speaking grammar. And so basically with drums, if you're doing AC/DC, I got news for you, you're doing singles. Doing a single stroke roll. You know, so that's like going back to the tempos. Tempos are important. With Chicago and Steve Winwood, and even with Santana, my whole career has been, I need to play drums for this guy, and this is what I want. Okay. Da, 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 da. Samba Pati, Santana, boom, and he starts playing. So again, I click it. Oh my God, that's like 80. Okay, so I hear the album. It goes, oh my God, he's playing it faster than the album. The album was this tempo, so he's now playing it at this tempo. So when he wants Samba Pati, I gotta make sure that I do the right tempo. You know, it's either a pickup. Da, 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 da. And it's not gonna be faster or slower, and if I have too much bourbon, it's gonna be slower, and if I have too much espresso, it's gonna be faster. That's irresponsible and unprofessional. I don't care what I do. If I had bad news and have an emergency in the family, or I ate a big meal, I ate too much, I went to the Guerra Festival, my God, Jesus. No, it's gotta be, the tempo will tell you, the metronome. I don't care what you've done in your life. This is it right here, buddy. You better keep up, slow down, lay back, or rush it. But you gotta do it. And just last night, Zach Brown, in the third part of the show, I was so happy. I had because I never get to see these guys. My brother plays percussion there, so am I gonna even see you aside from on stage? And he goes, yeah, pick me up at the Riverbend. He goes, you have no hotel? He goes, no, we just arrived at the Riverbend. We're in the buses. So I picked him up at 12. My wife cooked French toasts, and I picked Danny up, my brother, and he goes, do you mind if Chris Fryer comes? I go, of course. So Chris came in, the drummer, and then I took him, it's 12 minutes away to Newport, Kentucky. We had like a lot of coffee and French toast, and then I took him back, and then we saw the show. They do a medley. They had Robert Randolph, and they did a medley that is like about 12 R&B classic tunes from Commodores, which is great. Zach Brown has originals, and he plays other people's tunes. But they did back to back 8 tunes. She's a big they did so many tunes, one after the other. On the big screen, they flashed Chris Fryer from here, and guess what he had over here? The Tama rhythm watch, connected to his ear. So the song ended, clicked it, and he probably had to click, they finished that tune, so he had the rhythm watch. There's no way you can be specific with 8 tunes in a row unless you're David Garibaldi who's been playing Tower of Power since 1968. And you are the metronome because you wrote the tunes and you wrote the book and you're an institution in Tower of Power. So wherever he puts it is Tower of Power. But when you're playing other people's tunes and Brick House a specific tempo, you gotta have a tempo. And sometimes it's just, you cannot take a risk. You know, and I see a lot of bands doing that. You know, I see it on stage sometimes. You know, in a club it's fine. You know, you play in, you know, some of the clubs around here, it's like a, and the guitar player go, speed it up a little bit, you know, like this and that. Like, okay, like fast, and after the 8th bar it settles. Oh, now it feels good. Well, you just lost 8 bars. But when you are in a stage like that, and the river band, and it's sold out, it's gotta be perfect. And with Chicago, you can do 8 months of perfection, and you do one night that you messed up, and they go, hey man, what was going on? Are you okay? Is your personal life okay? No, I just played the wrong tempo. Well, you know, I mean, it's like a big deal. So you do 99% perfection, and that 1% can ruin your gig. So what's the way to make your life easier? AIDS. You know, if you have hurt, get a Band-Aid. If you have a infection, get peroxide. I mean, use the stuff around. And if there's technology, a lot of people say in the old days, they didn't used to use metronomes. That's the biggest lie and misconception that there is. In the times of Wagner, Beethoven, and classical music, before electricity, there was such a thing as a metronome. And back then, loops were called ostinato. Ravel, bolero, a specific tempo. 20 minutes of a loop. With the symphony orchestra, it's a loop. It's an ostinato. In different cultures, they call it a trance. African, before electricity, that's the tempo. And whatever it was a repetitious trance, which is called, we call it now a loop. And a loop can be a 4-bar loop, a 2-bar loop, like. An hour. Sometimes they want to rehearse and they want the drummer to play that for an hour until they get the music together. So you can do that at different tempos, but sometimes they want a specific tempo. So with that being said, that's the main thing I wanted to like bring this up, because like the tempos, it's really important to have a concept, and it can start with your practice. Either play with a click, and then when you get that down, put it up until you can no longer play it, and now you know what you have to practice. Have you ever seen runners in the track? You know, it's just like, click! Oh my God, you gotta improve, man. You gotta keep it up. You know, it's not happening. So drummers, we do that. You know, sometimes, you know, I go like sometimes like after like an injury and all that, I have to get back to my guy. And sometimes I last 5 minutes. So I'm not gonna last for 20 minutes unless I put the metronome. And if I last 20 minutes, so the point is, it's just like improve. And you can do that with everything, you know, like just write, use the pencil. Man, I practiced yesterday at 120, and this gave me trouble. Another thing that is really, really good to do, and I'm gonna use right now because I don't have my clicker, which is loud. But you know, there's like different aids, a different. I really recommend the Percussion Tutor app because it's like something that you can play with. Like it has different claves and stuff. Oh my God, how do I do this? Okay, oh, okay, I have to put, see, that's the problem with the phone. I love the Metronome, the rhythm watch. It's click, it's manual, it's easy. Here you have to go into airplane mode for your brother not to text you anymore. But, you know, and then get the volume. So, let me see. Okay, here we go. So, this is just a metronome, right? It's a clave beat. So you can actually do, so now if I wanted the metronome alone, which is actually what I want, I have another metronome and this one. So practicing with the metronome, a good thing that I always do for practicing different styles to a click. Right, you're playing what? Shuffles. Double time. Bossa nova. Six, eight. So, you know, you can do that and make it different, like different styles, same tempo. And that's like a 12/8, quarter notes, rock, double time, country shuffle. And then soloing. The main thing is, like right now I have to play brushes to hear the phone tempo, but if you have it in your in-ears, put some headphones. Because right now, I'll tell you, like the business, we just cut the whole Chicago new album that they're making like a big deal. Born for this moment, the new Chicago album, this and that. We did it during the pandemic. They would send me a tempo and a file or a loop. Whatever the song is with lyrics. I have to create a rhythm. Okay, the first thing, what tempo is this thing? Put the tempo down, and after I get the tempo down, you have to learn how to groove with a click and without one. But in this case, it has to go with the click, not like this, not like that. It has to be like this with the click. And then you send the files, because you have a drum set that sounds good, and you do the track, you do a second version, and you send the files. They send you the money in Venmo, and they go, thank you very much, it sounded great. So what was that? That was tempo, finding a groove that fits the song, that feels good, and what style was it? Some of it was a 6/8, 12/8, a shuffle. That one had a little more like a... And you find the style, so it's either funky, rock, soul, Latin, you know, that kind of thing. So that's basically what we do for a living. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put this tom-tom back. And I just wanted you to see, by the way, before I go, this is another thing as far as gear and sound. So I have two little muffles here This is a snare weight, right? The product called Snare weight. I use sometimes duct tape, you know, and roll it, you know, but sometimes it doesn't stick in some heads. So snare weight, the beautiful thing about the snare weight, so you see this right here, right? So it's a snare drum. That sound. So it's tuned medium high. You can lower it all the way and have this 80s David Foster really low sound if you tune it low. If you tune it higher, it might be more like a Police or Steve Jordan, that kind of thing. But this is like that. Sometimes you don't want that, so I put less. Tune. Well, I can't have that, so now I'm going to play some Latin thing. Snare sound. Ringy. Coming out of the booth and go, man, your snare is really ringy. You have a microphone. It sounds really ringy. Less ringy. And it goes, still ringy. Well, but right now it's not ringy. So basically, if you muffle, you cannot get that Latin, Brazilian or Latin jazz sound, you know, because it's dead. But you can get that backbeat. You can get that. So you basically have to mold one drum into different ones. Muffling, no muffling, tuning. Tuning, let me give you a really good tip that a lot of people don't know. when you buy a new snare drum, which this one is, look at that, California residents. What it was, oh my God, warning, in accordance with California labeling requirements, warning, cancer and reproductive harm. What is that about? I don't know what that is, but anyways, I've never seen that before.
It's on every
Gotta call
product
DW.
that comes out
Hey.
of California.
Huh?
It's on every product that comes out of California.
You know, like there's a lot of things to the drum. That's why this is such an art form. I found out through a drum maker that the glue laws is what makes the plies. When you put plies together with glue, California has different glue laws than Connecticut. And that's why Joe Montanari says, like, my snares are better because when my glue dries, it dries like a tree trunk. California, they cannot do that because of the glue laws. I'm going, what? I've never heard that before, but that's a good point. So what I was gonna say, when you get a brand new snare drum, every company, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen like Mapex, Ludwig, whatever, they're not gonna tighten the snare drums to death. The buyer does. So the one thing that is really easy is to actually play the snare drum, and then it gets loose and you tighten this, and you tighten and tighten and tighten until the snare pops. The first thing you have to do is tighten this right here. Make sure that this is tight, because I've done a lot of rentals where it's not tight, and I'm playing after the first tune, the snare drums are loose, so I tighten, snare drums are loose, I play the third tune, the fourth tune, and the snare snaps. And now you're in trouble if you don't have a spare. And all I needed to do is basically tighten this right here. A lot of snare drums don't have this, like DW does, and there is a screw, right? Like a screw. And you have the older ones. Make sure that that's tight, because you want the snare drum how you want it. So if you want it like loose, so now it's not going anywhere. And too loose, now tight, and there. Now the snare will sound how you adjust it, and this is not going to go anywhere. So that's really important. Like right now, when I actually sat down, these were loose. It's a brand new drum, right? I knew it. It's a brand new drum because this is loose. So now whoever buys this drum, this is ready to go. It's tight. But that's something that has happened so many times that I realized, man, through the years, why, and I ask the drum maker sometimes, why don't you guys just tighten this thing? He goes, I don't want to strip the lugs or anything like that, but once you tighten them, it's going to be okay. So I'm going to put the tom-tom back. So any questions for anything any questions about what we're talking about? For real? Yeah? Okay.
Oh, you have one, Wally.
Yes, sir.
Right over there.
Do you use a click live with like?
I use a click live in many groups. With Chicago, with Santana, we did a couple of tunes, and I used it to count. Either live on the tune, with Lindsey Buckingham, the majority of them was with a click. And there's many reasons why. Like Steve Gadd said on a clinic one time when they asked him that question back in the 80s, and Ralph McDonald was with him, the percussionist, producer of so many songs, just the two of us, I mean, so many, George Benson. He says, more like 80 to 90% of everything we do with a click. And probably all the songs, probably even 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, Steely Dan, I mean, because it's not that the drummer has bad tempo, it's just that, first of all, either you do it with the click for different reasons, you can edit. I remember doing a Jackson Browne tune, and towards the end, it was like already the tune was gone, and I was at the fade. And I said, well, the tune is done, I did my job, sounds great, so I tried some other stuff, and then he goes, oh my God, I love that. So now he wants the thing that happened at the end, he wants at the beginning. Well, let me tell you something, human tempo, that's really hard to do, because you cannot adapt that fill to an intro unless the tempo is the same. Or what about and so basically back then when there was no click, they use, I don't know if you've seen like Bee Gees documentary, Staying Alive. you know, like a that was, they cut tape of one bar of the drummer. He couldn't come to the studio to record. So they had a demo of him going, that's it. They cut it. And they put it, and they put it, and they put it, and they put it, and they put it. So that's a tempo. It has no click, but it's a tempo, it's a steady loop over and over and over, what we were calling an ostinato. So the same thing happened. What happens in some music with a click is that if you have a solo, sometimes some music, it doesn't feel great at a constant tempo. So like what I used to do with Steve Winwood, I used to have my clicker here. And every song starts, you know, I count it because he wanted. And one of the things that why you use a click is because we forget as drummers that the sound guy has effects. You know, for example, Steve Winwood. Everybody, that has a tempo. And you don't hear that, but there's a delay there. And the guitar players, if you're a guitar player, you know, there's tempos. Chicken, 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 chicken. And sometimes the guitar player goes, Wally, what tempo are we playing this song? And he wants to know to set his guitar pedals. Chicken, 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 chicken. If you think U2 is not playing with a click, look again. Because what's his name? The Edge. You know that documentary when he actually goes beep boom 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 ding, and he demonstrates his rig in that documentary with Jimmy Page and the guy from
Jack White.
yeah. So he goes ding ding. That's the only thing I'm playing. Beep boom boom. There you go. Going in. Beep boom boom, and then he goes. There's a tempo there. That's a tempo. It has to be set to a tempo. If you're not playing to that click, it's gonna go off and it's gonna wash. So basically, if you're a guitar player and sets a tempo, you have to play that tempo to make the effect of the song. Now, with that being said, there's times where you go into a recording studio, and I've done it, and I go, I have no idea what the tempo is. The bass player joins, Joe Sample starts playing the piano, and that's what I call a documented performance. It's not produced, there's no tempo, there's nothing, it's just whatever you guys did, it's recorded, and it's there. But then you cannot overdub or clean this or add this or add, because it's just there. You know, so basically you play it. And that's why it's important to learn how to play with clicks and without a click. Like Steve Ferroni said, yes, I can play with the click. I can do better. I can play without one. You know, so basically when he said that, he goes, yeah, that's right. And you're like, and the combination of what you do feels good, sounds good. It was recorded, it's a take. Great, what was the tempo? I don't know. Now, when we play it live, remember that thing we did in the studio? And he goes like, can we redo it? He goes, whoa, shit, I gotta come back and go like, oh yeah, it's that tempo. So now I gotta click that tempo and go, so it's constant every night, because some nights might not be. And some bands are looser than others, you know. With Chicago, and this is another reason why sometimes these days, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Excuse me.
It's called money. It used to be, we used to have sometimes 4 or 5 percussionists. We used to have big bands with strings. Those days are gone, I'm sorry. Artists don't carry 20-something people on the road, and if they do, like Tony Bennett, Lady Gaga, it's a one-off, very expensive, they record it, this and that, but it's hard to see Lyle Lovett with a big band on the road. Probably he's not making a lot of money, because I just saw them on the road with the Russell Conkle on drums and all that, big band and all that. It's 20-something rooms. Josh Groban picks up the musicians from town. He doesn't travel with them. So a lot of the times you got strings here or in the track. So with Lindsey Buckingham, it was 4 of us, 3 and Lindsey. So he has this, and we have certain amount of singing, and he goes, Wally, like for you, like, can you play some percussion and stuff? So right there on stage, click, 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 on the chorus, tambourine. And so I did my percussion track. There was extra chords, invisible pads that enhance the music. So now we have 4 or 5 different parts that we're playing to. The main thing is Lindsey Buckingham, me on drums, percussion, a guitar player, and keyboard bass player. How do you play with those tracks? It's gotta be on a click. So now I hear the click, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know, you know, da 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 da, and you hear the voices, and Lindsey cannot afford, without Fleetwood Mac, 3 singers to come for a song and go, okay, we're done. Now we go back to our hotel room, and they get paid a salary for 1 song. So you put it on a track, and sometimes a lot of bands do that these days. And the other thing to consider is you go to some of these acts like Ricky Martin with dances, Jennifer Lopez, Pink, and all of that with dancers and the lighting and all that, images and all that. That's locked. In fact, Ricky Martin, I know that because my daughter's boyfriend was playing percussion. I know the guys. There's not even a count of like the drummer waits. Oh, okay, are you guys ready? No. It's like the thing counts on its own. So it's like, clap, 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 bah, boom, bah, boom, boom, bah. You're playing, and then it finishes, bah, the thing goes on, a fire goes on, the dancers come in, they finish, Jennifer Lopez comes back, goes, she says this and that, hi everybody, I love you guys, this and that, and now, from 1999, bah, 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 boom, boom, and you're basically playing a series of
Programs.
It's locked. So you're playing 25 songs, one after the other. So the bottom line comes down to like, you gotta learn how to do that. And you gotta learn how to basically play with people, just jam with musicians, have fun, make it feel good. But practice, because even if you never use a click, and you practice with clicks and metronomes and loops and music, you will get better. Because if you practice with tempos, you will become a tempo. And you know, it's not mechanical or feel. Because again, if you actually think that Steve Ferroni, Steve Gadd, Rush, Neil Peart, and even Hal Blaine, because Hal Blaine told me one time, he goes, man, you used to do 3 sessions a day, and sometimes it's just like you can tell that the tempo's human. You cannot even put a click to it, but it just grooves. And then sometimes it's just like there, and he goes, well, Wally, they used to have a little metronome back in the days. It was like this, tiny. And when they didn't used to have the click track in there, he used to have this big headphones in the studio in the 1960s. They can actually put a little metronome in there. And for the sake of tempo, when Phil Spector was going nuts, he goes, let's do that again. And the same tempo, he used to click it and then used to put it there and goes, because they used to take breaks, and sometimes it was a half-hour break, and they were used to that tempo. So you make sure like 60, 60, 120, and you hear it click, click, click. Whatever it was, Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher, you know, it just makes your lives easier. It's less responsibility. With Chicago right now, I can tell you one thing. The conversation of, this was slower tonight, last night was a little faster. That's not even in the menu. It's locked. Every night is what it is. And I play some, the ballet is basically human. But I really have to like right now, when I go back after being off in August, I have to brush up because like I have to like get that muscle memory with the tempo. You know, like believe it or not, like on the easier thing. Doom 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 doom. Color my world. Those are the hardest thing. And when you hear it back, sometimes it's a little slower, a little faster. Robert sometimes counts it out a little too fast, and he wants to lay back. So I know when it's a little too fast, I have to lay back, and I told the new bass player, if anything, lay back and help me. Because doom 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 doom. And then it relaxes as time goes by. And then it relaxes. Same thing happened with Steve Winwood. I told this story before, but we used to play with Steve Winwood the whole show of all the hits of Steve Winwood. We used to take a bow, good night, this and that, hey, and then we used to go backstage, everybody's sweating, adrenaline, the audience is going, ah, and it's like, okay, let's come back. Well, man, he wanted to play Back in the High Life. So after Give Me Some Loving, which is like balls out, give me some. We rehearsed it for like 2 weeks. And I remember, I forgot exactly, but it was like 80 something, 87 or whatever it was. But I clicked it, and the first few shows, I clicked and it was like 1, 2. And the bass player and the guitar player was like, what? It's the same tempo we've been doing for 3 weeks, for God's sake. And you guys were fine with it. Now the adrenaline is faster. It's just like exciting. You're human. And basically you forgot that you're in a different human level as 3 weeks in rehearsal. But the tempo doesn't lie. The number says 87. 3 weeks and now I'm on the road and it's 87. So it's got click, click. And even I said like, something wrong with this metronome. Damn, this Tama rhythm machine. But now it's like, okay, so it's like, right? 1, 2, 3, you know the song da 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 da, back in the high life again. He plays the mandolin da da da, and there's a thing. Back in the Wait for it. And it's unbelievable how incredible musicians cannot play a quarter note with a dotted eighth note. Oh my God, they can play amazing 30 seconds, this and that, but all of a sudden it's like, ba, ba, wait for it. No, not yet. Ba, ba, not ba, ba. No, you're rushing. 1, 2, and 1, wait for it. And that was the problem. And these guys were like, it's too slow. Well, Steve loved it for 3 weeks. And when I asked Steve, how was the tempo? He goes, it's lovely. So like basically it's a human element. Now, me as a drummer, I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes and I didn't own it. Like back in the 80s, I didn't use the metronome in some things, and I got influenced by musicians like these guys were like, hey man, it's too slow. And I went faster. And then the artist went, you're rushing. So now it's my fault. So you got to a point where you got to know that your responsibilities is tempo, grooves that feel good, and styles. Learn your styles. And then in the band, I got the tempos. We're doing an Eagles tribute band. Okay, we're doing this 10 songs. get the record, notch the tempo, and get the stuff. Is it a shuffle? Oh, it's a 12/8, and this one is 8 notes. Don Henley's playing quarter notes on this one. Okay, different styles. Make it feel good, tune your drums, and play that tempo. And then if the guys want, the leader of the band that is paying you says, yeah, but that's the record. We're gonna do our thing, play it a little faster. Oh, how fast you want it from the record? And then play it for me. You know, like, in the long run. Now I'm gonna play, in the long run. Oh, it's a lot faster. Notch it down. Okay, so now we're at this tempo. Okay, let's do it there. But tomorrow you know where to count it. And every time I counted with Steve Winwood for 10 years, I can tell you, Can't Find My Way Home was like 84. Back in the Highlight was like 104. Give Me Some Loving was like certain tempo, this and that. And his guitar. One time, I actually took the leadership in my own hands because I was like 5-6 years with Steve Winwood, and I thought, he kind of made me a little bit like a musical director. I went, man, this would feel so much better 2 notches up. And I clicked the tempo like from 87, 88, 89. And at the end of the show, I was in the dressing room. He's a very nice guy, sweet guy, Steve Winwood, gentleman, multi-instrumentalist, and always gentle. Wally, he goes like, yeah, Steve, was that song a little faster today? And go like, yeah, I kind of like felt like maybe I notched it like a little, like 2 notches up. And go, yes, put it back where it was. And I was like, all right, I'm sorry about that. I should have asked you first. He goes, it's all right.
Do you ever send your click feed to all the other musicians?
Huh?
Do you ever send your click feed to the other musicians in yours?
With Steve Winwood, no. The click was with me, and I started the tempo with the click, and when we got used to it, I would take it off. Or I kept it until a certain amount, or kept it on, and everybody played to me, like if I was the drum machine, you know, and everybody lock in. But that was the kind of band we had. With Chicago, everybody hears it.
Okay.
With that being said, everybody has their own monitor mix. Some people decide not to have a click, and I think that's a mistake. Because in the studio, let the drummer be the responsible one. Did you see the James Brown movie, the documentary? There's a documentary on James Brown, and there's the real James Brown, and there's the movie of James Brown with Jamie Foxx, I think, or somebody else. I forgot who was the actor. And there's a scene there on both that James Brown comes to the dressing room and tells saxophone player, go like, what do you play? And he goes, I play drums. Right. Piano player, what do you play? He goes, I play drums. That's right. Guitar player, what do you play? And he goes, I play drums. That's right. Never forget it. You all are drummers, and you all have the responsibility to keep the tempo and play in the pocket, in the groove. It's not about the drummer babysitting for you guys. No. A groove, and Joe Sample told me that, it's not just what the drummer, it's what we create with the guitar player. It's like one thing, I do this like lately, and I do it in different areas. I mean, I don't recommend you do it in all the bands, but like sometimes, it happened one time, and it happened to be by accident, because I really had to go to the bathroom, but it was Alphonso Johnson on bass. And Alphonso is one of the best bass players in the world. He played on Face Value, Phil Collins, all those hits. Played with Weather Report, Santana with me. I was with Weather Report. We played many recordings together. So I was playing like something like, you know, like we were playing like a... I gotta go to the bathroom. I think these guys were cooking. I'll be right back. Going to the bathroom. Then my thing, that stuff never fell apart. I wanted that without the drums. Yeah, I'm relieved. Okay. So I've done that before, and if I have to go to the bathroom, sometimes I don't, and I do it on purpose. I want to test this, guys. I gotta go to the bathroom. It falls apart. Guitar player, keyboard player, singers can play in time. Shame, you know. So basically, that tells you a lot right there. So you're basically the timekeeper for them. And there's a thing. There's many instrumentalists that play with you, and there's a thing called playing with the drummer. And some things are, another thing is playing off of the drummer. That's not the same as playing on the pocket. And it's okay in certain areas, like jazz players did it all the time. For example, you go like a, you know, like Count Basie or something like a. And sometimes the saxophone player. Go, whoa! They're like pulling me, but you can't go with them. And then and a solo, you know, if you can play a solo. But sometimes it's like like blues player. They're not playing in time. If you take the drums out, you can't tell what the time is at. B.B. King did it. I mean, that's playing way back. And so like your job is not to go way back. So like sometimes you get the push and pull, and I got to play with Tony Braxton out of the top of my head, and this Divas in Rotterdam. It was like it was a real honor. Donna Summer, and the first thing she did was MacArthur Park at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was like, holy cow, man, that woman can sing. And then it was Tony Braxton, Shaka Khan, and Tony Braxton was like, it was like a drummer singing. If you would have stopped, you could have. I mean, it's a pleasure to play drums when there's like an incredible concept of rhythm coming from around you. But sometimes it's not like that, and sometimes that's why I actually put the click. It's like, okay, like I'm not going to mention any names, but I did a tour with Johnny Hallyday, which is a big French singer. And this is I'm relating stories that are like, I had a problem, like basically, because I was the new guy, and the guitar player was the established guy, and the musical director wanted that specific tempo, so I clicked it. So it was like and there was no drums for the first 4 bars. It was just guitar. And then I come in. So I counted 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time he finished, it was 3 clicks ahead. And by the time the drums came in, you know, this was with no click. And by the time the singer came in, it was like 5 clicks from what I counted. Then the musical director didn't say anything to the guitar player. It was my fault. So he came to me. It's too fast. He goes, man, I clicked the right tempo, but he didn't say, yeah, I know the guitar player's rushing. No, so basically, there comes the English communication. Hey buddy, how you doing today? Everything good? He goes like, yeah. So I have a situation, you know, like a musical director came to me and I have a clicker 120 and he wants me to keep that tempo. Hey man, it's rock and roll. It's like you either feel it or you don't. I go, well, he wants the tempo to be 120. So, and then we tried it again. And then I tried to keep the hi-hat and he was way ahead. Then I said like, hey buddy, how you doing again? So this is the thing. I'm gonna click the 120 because that's what they told me to do. You can either play ahead of me, you can play behind me, or you can play with me, but I ain't going where you're gonna go. I go, well man, you know, it's rock and roll. You gotta like, I played rock and roll before, believe it or not. You know, I mean, if you don't call all these guys rock and roll, Steve Winwood, Robbie Robertson, you know, Santana, Jackson Brown, I mean, I don't know what you call them, but they're rock and roll. And so like, so basically I put this click and the click counted like, and I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't matter what he played. And it stayed there. So it sounded like he was ahead. Whatever. And that's it. And it's on 3 DVDs. And at the end of the 5-month tour, they had some awards and a dinner presentation, this and that. And the guy that did the DVDs in French, he was speaking in French, and he said, I go, what is he saying? He said that because of you and your group, they were able to edit from Marseille to Paris to Montreal to Belgium to this in one song. So the same song, we play that song in Paris, we play that song in Toulouse, we play that song in Marseille, and it ended in Montreal, Canada. And if it wasn't because of that click, playing constant, they were able to piece all these pieces of the song and put it together into one song. You know, so it was like the crowd in Belgium, the crowd in Paris, the crowd over here, the crowd over there. If it would have been human tempo like this, you can't do that. So the song was 120. That's what the guy wanted, 120. I don't care. I'm not working for the guitar player. I'm working for the guy that pays me. And that's the leader. If you want to do whatever you want to do, you got to do your band, and you're the leader. And that's why I recommend, you know, start the band. Don't wait for the calls, because it teaches you compassion and consideration. Wow, these guys are busy. You know, you have to work with them, because I've been there. So like, try to construct your own house from the ground up, and you'll appreciate contractors and carpenters, and you know. So like, so that's so anyways, any requests, rhythms, whatever, grooves. By the way, this is a beautiful DW drum, and Charlie can tell you the specifics, but you know, I basically came in and this is Charlie's tuning.
3:30.
All right. Well, you know, I can be here all day, and he knows that. Any questions of anything particular, or really quick? Any? Yes, sir.
Where's your PDP snare? That one time you were here, you had that PDP
Oh,
snare.
the PDP concept
Yeah,
series.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
really love
an
that.
expensive snare, but it's
I know it is.
It has the qualities of a Black Beauty, because I own one,
Yeah.
and it has when you touch it. So for me, you don't have to really. When I'm at the NAMM show, everybody's banging away, and the sound police is. I just have to touch a snare to know if it's gonna sound good. If a snare is like this, something's wrong. Loose. Sensitivity. If it's too much like this, too tight, or something's loose, it's not. It doesn't really has the lows, the mids, and the highs. So I want that, because when I want the rim and when I want to tune it low, I want like deep sound. So by touching it like that, I can tell. That's with my hand and my fingers. I know that if I go with the sticks, listen. And when it goes like what I call a press rolls, or like, I use those a lot because in Latin music we do, but I actually put them into pop music. 1, 2, 3. And it's like a fill for me. You just let it go. You don't even count. If you have a click, 1, 2, 3, forever until the down becomes. So that's important, like to have on my. So the concept is really good. I still use it a lot. I've used it with Chicago. I'm using one that is very similar to this one. I think this is a 7, right?
Yeah, 7 by 14.
Damn, I know my measurements. So it's like I use a 6.5 by 14 with Chicago Mappa Burl, and then I have. I'm sorry, that's the one I use on the left, and I tune really low with very thick snares. If you want like low, like like more snares on the bottom, thicker. And here I'm using the Black Beauty DW, which is black nickel over steel or chrome or something like that, But they call it a Black Beauty from DW. And so yeah, it's just a matter of tuning, muffling, and heads, of course. You can use clear heads if you're not playing brushes. If you're playing brushes, there's something about a snare that is. You can do that with a clear head. So I like, I put back Emperor coated on my drums, because we're playing now, if you leave me now. And it just feels better. So that's mainly, of course, a drum set like this is so beautiful, even with brushes. Your drum set, you should use many things, and you can get so many different sounds out of the drum set. So it's not just 1, 2, 3 tom-toms, 1 snare, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sounds. You can get a lot of sounds out of this, the snare, this. So you got hundreds of sound on a drum set. So that's what I try to do. Because who wants to set up 10 drum sets? Of course, I have a little tiny drum set for clubs, and I have a bigger drum set for louder. Cymbals are important. Sabian. I like cymbals with your finger. You can do that. If you can do that, you definitely, have the situation where it's like. I try to look for in the instruments because I'm lazy. I can't, I want like to actually have one drum set in my car and do a rock gig, a jazz gig, a Latin gig, detune, tune, muffle, unmuffle, and have the same damn drum set in the car with the trap case and not have to carry it inside my my house. Because most drummers' injuries are not by playing drums, it's by carrying gear. And I know, believe me. And so like I had cysts, have tennis elbow, carrying stuff, be careful how you tighten up. Use technology, use tools, use things that are available to you. Just like Home Depot, I use duct tape, I use Velcro, I use Sharpies. It's my next endorsements. Sharpie, Velcro, Sharp. And so basically, make your life, it's not about laziness really, I said it wrong. It's basically more energy for you to play your drums, and the older you get, wear and tear, like a car, the motor. Eventually it's like, oh, I need to get new tires, oh, I need to get a new carburetor, or I need to get this, the light went off. Well, that happens to our body, so we have to actually keep in good mental health, positive. Just today, it was like this kid, singing in Germany, but he spoke English. He goes like, you're so lucky, the royal era of rock and roll, 69, Woodstock, live music, this and that. And I'm going, let me tell you something. Darkness and negativity always has existed. When I was a kid, it was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy was shot, Martin Luther was shot. Why am I gonna study in high school? I'm gonna be sent to Vietnam and get killed. You can always go there. The end of the world has existed since I was alive. But look at you, you're in Germany and we're doing Zoom. And I'm here teaching you from Newport, Kentucky. You're in the middle of Germany. And before this Zoom, it almost went downhill because we couldn't get it happening. And guess what the guy did in Germany? He looked in YouTube for instructions and, hey, Wally, go to settings, turn off the echo thing and do this. And he looked at that in German and then he's translated into English. We're living in an amazing era. We're living in an era that you can actually go to Instagram when you're down, and I have like 1,000 drummers and I'm having my coffee. Before I even finish my coffee, it's like, damn, oh my God. Okay, I'm out of here. Forget the coffee, I'm practicing, I'm like, I get inspired. You have immediate access. Now, the way you use your tools, it's a documentary, auto-tune. Some people took it to the max and they ruin it, and this guy, you use the tools. If you overuse it or, use it wrongly, then, of course, if you actually buy a drill to drill something in your house that you don't want to do with the screwdriver, and then you go, damn, that's it. But man, wait a second. I love this drill. Well, you messed up the house with the drill. It's like, but it's only, you got this power tool, you use it twice, you screw, job done, move on. So basically the same thing happens with music and drums. So we're living in an amazing era of information, and you can go dark, and it's really simple. Make a choice. Turn on the light. Use the light. It's your choice to do this and go to darkness, the negativity and complaining and this and that. This is messed up. I tell the story many times, but I had a student that I thought he was a scam artist at the beginning, because I get those Nigerian emails that they're sending me $2 billion and all that stuff. But this kid, basically, I, open-minded, and he said, do you have anything that you can send of drumming and this and that, sir, and this and that, and I see your YouTube videos. And he goes like, well, there's a lot of stuff online that you can actually download, drumming, rudiments, but that you choose. He goes, well, yeah, here. And so basically, it took 5 seconds. Here, study this rudiment. Okay, I gotta go, I don't even know this guy. Well, to make a long story short, this kid lived in a village and somewhere in Nigeria, and he used a bike to bike like, I don't know how many miles to the closest town so he can rent, he work to pay the money, and he used the money to go and wait in line for the computer to be open for 1 hour so he can open the computer to learn information about drumming. And he had a really crappy set of drums because he wanted to be a drummer, but it's really difficult where he lives. So he actually was going the extra mile to learn. And I'm going, are you kidding me? So we got people here that have like TWs and beautiful snare drums, and they're doing this. And if you give this drum set or any like the shittiest entry level drum set to this guy, look out. So basically it all depends. Like we have so much greatness all around us and information and you know, so sometimes I have to do that. And I'm not saying like preaching to you. I gotta get up sometimes in the morning and go, what's my choice? I get up and I'm going, I choose the light. And basically I go there and sometimes some days are not good. I just recuperated from tennis elbow from January to recently. It still hurts. You think they're gonna stop me? I'm gonna quit Chicago. I'm gonna quit giving lessons. That ain't gonna stop me. I went to I got a shot, didn't work. I did this, I downloaded everything on the internet. Try this, try that, supplements, you know, all this stuff. I mean, find solutions, and if you fall, scrape that blood from your knees, and once you stand up, you go like, oh my God, it feels so much better. I hated it down there with my knees bleeding, but now you're gonna appreciate it because yesterday you were standing, but you didn't fall. And then now that you fell, when you stand up, you go like, woohoo, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So we have to go through that sometimes. I have to do it myself, so I'm just telling you what I'm doing personally. I'm not preaching, this is the way. But basically, I have to work at it, and I'm 66. So, you know, I actually go, okay, how can my dad's almost 90. And I get a lot of inspiration. I mean, he's got a list of ailments, but he goes, hey, have you checked this guy on the internet? Holy cow, check out his left hand. And that's my dad, he's 90, he's excited. He's excited about drumming and the passion of drumming. Have you checked this new snare out? You can actually tune the snare. You don't even have to take the locks out. He goes like, yeah, Dad, okay, thank you. You know, and so like, you know, that's the thing. So, and then you do that, and then you learn how to do it and get the goods, and then pass it on, information to other friends and family. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all in this together. Like I thank you for coming here. And if there's any question that Charlie knows, use social media, email me, send me a message, anything that you forgot, anything that I can help with information, you know, rhythms. It's a lot of stuff, and the more we help each other, the more your purpose, whether it's playing with the band or improving yourself, or you know, finding the right symbol that you're looking for, whatever. And you know, Charlie and his family are here. Like, I mean, this place, I mean, we're so lucky. I mean, this is not Guitar Center where you come in for looking for a screw. They're trying to sell you a $1,000 snare. He goes, no, you don't understand. I'm looking to fix my snare drum that I love. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Yeah, but we got a snare here. In fact, I'll give it to you for $800. No, you don't. No, Charlie's the real deal. And so like we're here in a beautiful drum shop. Look at that, like Rogers, all this snare. So even if you don't buy anything, you get inspired. And then when you go over here, sometimes I actually do it. I actually look, I don't buy anything. And man, some of the things creeping my dreams, like Stevie Wonder's song, you know, creeping in my dreams. And I go, man, and it stays in my brain. Damn, I dreamed about it enough, like for 2 weeks now. Charlie! Well, thank you for coming. And